Welcome back to International Finance. I am Andy Kim, your Dr. Finance, and we've been going through Chapter 6, International Parity Relations. And the purchasing power parity is the thing we've been talking about. What is that about? Well, the idea is based on law of one price. All around the world, right? Same basket of goods like Big Mac, identical ingredients and the way of cooking it, right? Very standardized way of doing it, right? Shouldn't it be priced the same no matter where you go? New York City or Seoul or Tokyo, Beijing, or wherever you go, it's pretty much the same taste and same goods, right? Shouldn't it be priced the same? Law of one price, PPP, price purchasing power parity. That's getting in there, right? The thing is, it's not priced the same way, okay? But in theory, it has to be the same. Okay, same goods, one price. But it's not. Why? Okay, major part of it is driven by inflation rate differentials, right? Inflation rate is different in different countries. Some countries have hyperinflations, like Zimbabwe 10 years ago. Some countries have deflations, right? Different countries' inflation rate will drive the FX rate differences. Okay, go in there. Now, PPP until now, it was more about nominal rate based FX rate. Okay, nominal FX rate. There we had to consider this impact of inflation rate, but you may wonder, right? What if, right? What about real FX rate, net of, right? Net of those impact of inflation rate. That's something we're going to discuss over here in this slide. Well, starting from small e, the rate of change in FX rate, okay? Rate of change in FX going into the future, right? That's this guy, -1. 1 plus inflation rate of your home currency. Let's say we're taking Euro perspective because we have more European students than American students this time, right? And then your foreign currency, dollar over here, right? I mean, from Korean perspective, dollar is also a foreign currency. So that's over here. And this, right, ratio, -1. That's, if you go back to our previous slide, that's this guy. Forward rate over spot rate, -1, okay? That's this relation, the forward premium computation, right? And that's this guy, expected, right, exchange rate changes going into the future. So get back to this small e, we can see, right, by sending this 1 to the other side of the equation, or in this way, right, other side of the equation, you get 1 plus small e. That's this one, right? Send. And then what you see on the right hand side is F forward rate over spot rate, okay? Relation, that's purchasing power parity relations explained. If both countries have the same or identical inflation rate, which means Euro and US, they have the same inflation rate, then what do we have? Well, these two guys, numerator and denominator will be the same, cancel each other out to be 1. Unity in English expression, right? Unity. So 1 plus e should be 1, which means e will be 0. What does that mean? Well, there will be no change in FX expected in the future if purchasing power parity holds true and inflation rate of the two different countries are identical. Then, if PPP does not hold, okay, if PPP does not hold, changes in nominal exchange rate cause changes in the real exchange rates, affecting the international competitive positions of the countries, affecting your trade balance, your price competitiveness of your products and services will get affected, okay, if PPP does not hold true, okay? Now, and which is really, quite often the case, right? The world is different from, deviates from the theory. So that's why. Now let's call this real exchange rate small q. How do we define it? Well, we define it by this, starting from the previous relation, 1 plus small e being equal to 1 plus your country's inflation rate over 1 plus foreign country's inflation rate. Divide both sides by the same number, which is 1 plus e. That you see on your left-hand side over here. Okay, divide both sides of the equation by the same number. The equation should hold true. So left-hand side will become 1. Right-hand side becomes this ugly term, which is nothing but the same thing divided by 1 plus e. Okay. So it has to be, this ugly term has to be 1 if PPP holds. Okay. To measure the degree of deviation from purchasing power parity relations, let's define a variable called small q, which is our, real exchange rate. Okay, fine. Let's define it this way. The real exchange rate, which will be 1 if purchasing power parity holds true. Fine. For example, based on this, we can tease out some inferences, some ideas based on this, right? We can infer something out of it. Well, for example, annual inflation rate is 5% in the US, right? Foreign country. And then in your home country, Germany, the euro inflation rate is 3.5%, or you call it, Sweden or France or whichever country. Yeah, and the dollar depreciated against the euro by 4.306%. Okay, dollar depreciated. Okay, the nominal FX rate depreciated. Then what happens to the real exchange rate? Euro to dollars. For each US dollars, how much is it in euro terms? That real exchange rate is calculated to be like this. Using this relation, right? Stick in the 3.5% euro inflation rate over here, and then 5% inflation rate of the US over there, and then 1 plus E, but I said it's depreciated. 4.306%. So 1 minus, right, 4.306%, right? There's a depreciation against euro. Okay, your foreign currency depreciated against the domestic currency. Now, if you do the numbers, you will figure out that the Q will be 1.03, which is 1 plus 3%, positive 3%. What's the intuition here? Well, which means euro appreciated by 3% more than is warranted by purchasing power parity. Now, the euro got appreciated, which means euro got strengthened, which means your product price in the international market weakens. Nobody wants to buy your expensive product. I will go for the US product instead of euro products, right? So for example, Intel producing chips versus Infineon producing chips, right? Which one would you buy? I'll go for Intel one, because euro in real terms went up, appreciated. Expensive, cheaper over there. So weakening the competitiveness of euro goods in the world market, that's the idea. Okay, fine. Q is defined in this way, the real exchange rate. Q, if it is 1, the competitiveness of the domestic currency is unaltered, right? Or numerator currency, right? Unaltered. If Q is less than 1, the competitiveness of the domestic currency or numerator currency improves, okay? Less than 1. If it is bigger than 1, just like the case I showed you before, it is competitiveness of the domestic currency deteriorates. Numerator currency deteriorates. Okay. So the graphs over here generally shows this idea of Q kind of real FX rate of your currency, the US currency, Japanese currency, Canadian currency, German euro currency, right? China currency, and then the United Kingdom currency, right? Okay, so overall, the way I interpret this is the strength of your currency. Okay, so if you go to US dollar, when was it strong? Well, over 1980s, right? Before Plaza Agreement, right? US dollar was very strong, whereas Japanese yen was artificially low, right? And then after Plaza Accord, US dollar, right, depreciated, and Japanese yen soared up like crazy, and that's where the trade balance, right, started to get adjusted. Okay, and then here it's not really Q, which is supposed to be 1, but it's an index that you take 100 in fiscal year 2010's value is to be 100. Okay, so set it as a benchmark point, and then before and after, you see the dollar strength, right? Was weak over here, but now after Donald Trump regime, right, has been going up. Strong dollar, okay, strong dollar, but with during the Obama regime, I guess, right, Obama regime. And then the Donald Trump, right? Of course, over here, try to be more weaker because America first, right? They wanted to recover the strength of American price competitiveness instead of dollar's right strength, weakening the dollar a lot more. But nowadays, it has been getting stronger a bit. Okay, and then other currencies like China, right? Their currencies, since their opening of their economy, right, in 1990s, that has been kept very weak, right? But recently has been going a little bit up, right? And then, so you can infer a lot of things looking at these graphs. Anyway, so evidence on purchasing power parity, this probably does not hold precisely in the real world for a variety of reasons. For example, right, the haircut cost 10 times as much in the developed world as in the developing world, right? Films, right, on the other hand, is highly standardized commodity that is actively traded across borders. Different countries have different tariffs, regulations. For example, the car, Hyundai Motors, right? Sonata, okay? Korean price is like around 3천만 원 or like a 30,000 US dollars worth in South Korea. Bring it to Singapore. Singapore, how much is it? At least 2 times the price, because the tariff or the tax upon this car itself is 100%. They impose 100% car tax for every car they sell, right? And then there is something more upon it, about another 100%, something called COE. This is the right to drive a car, right to emit those how do you say, the CO2s, or you're taking up those spaces in the city using your cars, right? So at least the price triples in Singapore for the same car. Oh my God. And it's likewise, different countries have different regulations, so that law of one price does not hold. Okay. And then medical world, right? Those goods may be different. Aspirins in your textbook, exhibit 6.7, you're going to see aspirin price differs widely. Why? Different regulations, right? The strongest interest group in all countries commonly. Number 1, doctors. Don't dare to bother them, right? They are the strongest guys, and they will protect their own territories by imposing a lot of, regulations. Don't bother us, my 밥그릇 things, like don't kick my bowls, right? Iron bowls. Medicines, right? And legal services. Don't dare to bother the lawyers? Come on, right? And all these kind of prices will be very, different countries. Yeah. Vaccines. Oh, that's something we'll have to think about this year. Okay. Shipping costs as well as tariffs and quotas can lead to deviations from purchasing power parity. And PPP determines exchange rates, still provides a valuable benchmark. Right. By the way, another thing is your college tuition. Your GBA students may be complaining about your tuitions, but Korean tuition versus Harvard tuition in the US, come on, 10 times difference, okay? Yeah. Okay, you're not Harvard professor, you may say, but the teaching wise, right? And we are trying as best as we could, right? And then, so all those things, how much is it standardized? Of course, they may differ, but is it really worth that 10 times difference in your price tuition? Internet age, you can compare, right? Anyway, so those things, Exhibit 6.7 is an interesting table to look at, right? The deviations, you can see standard deviations. You see some products have much more deviations than the other products. Coefficient of variation tells you about that. What is this coefficient of variation? Standard deviation divided by average, right? That's this guy. So aspirin medical products, a lot more deviation than hamburgers, 2 times, right? Anyway, going down, the exact Fisher effect comes next, right? Fisher equation. Irving Fisher, Professor Irving Fisher is over here. We're going to talk about this in the next video, so wait for that. Thank you for watching.